How Ukraine's military industry has changed. Ukraine has significantly increased the production of military equipment, ammunition and weapons. Production has become more decentralized. Private companies have actively joined in manufacturing of equipment and in providing the military with everything necessary. Ukraine has become one of the world's leaders in the development and use of unmanned aerial vehicles. They are used for reconnaissance, artillery fire correction and delivering strikes. Ukrainian engineers are actively working on the development of new types of weapons, taking into account the experience of combat operations. These include missiles of various ranges, drones, artillery and armored vehicles. Cyber defense, communication systems and digital management of military operations are currently developing. There is a trend toward creating a unified command system where various types of weapons and equipment can interact with each other, replacing the Soviet-style system, which Russia uses, of saying something like, "You cover the area from that birch tree to this pine, and I'll cover from this pit to that hill." Overall, Ukraine's defense industry has significantly strengthened, becoming more adaptable to the conditions of modern warfare and threats. Since the start of the war, arms exports were halted, but now the possibility of exporting certain types of weaponry is being considered, with priority given to meeting the needs of the armed forces of Ukraine. How has the Russians' military industry changed? Russia has significantly increased the production of military equipment and weaponry in an attempt to supply its armed forces with everything needed for a prolonged war. Many Russian enterprises have transitioned to continuous production cycles, working in 3 shifts. The country is striving to expand its production capacities by opening new factories or enlarging existing ones. As a result, the production of tanks, artillery, missiles, drones and other types of weaponry has grown. The Russian military industry is attempting to modernize its weaponry and introduce cutting-edge technologies, actively developing its unmanned aerial vehicles and other robotic systems. However, sanctions and limited access to modern technologies have created significant obstacles to this process. Russia has faced serious limitations due to sanctions imposed by Western countries. These sanctions have impacted its access to technologies, components and materials required for producing sophisticated weaponry. In response, Russia has sought to replace imported components with domestic production. It also attempts to acquire necessary components and materials through third countries. The volume of Russian arms exports has decreased to a minimum. Primarily, this is due to the war and the need to supply its own military forces. However, another significant factor is the damage to Russia's reputation as a weapons manufacturer. Much of the weaponry that Russia promoted as having no analogues has proven to be uncompetitive in practice. Overall, the Russian military industry has faced numerous challenges. Through resource mobilization and production centralization, it strives to compensate for losses and provide its army with necessary weaponry. However, the long-term prospects remain uncertain due to substantial technological and economic constraints. How has the military industry changed in other countries? Observing the war in Ukraine, countries in the so-called circle of influence of Russia, China or Iran began to evaluate: how many days will our ammunition last? How many hours can our air defense hold out? The results of these calculations were sobering. So many countries, particularly in Europe, significantly increased their defense budgets. Currently, the most active changes have occurred in the following countries. Germany – substantial increase in defense spending, purchases of new fighter jets, drones and other weaponry. United Kingdom – increased defense expenditures with significant investments in advanced technologies such as artificial intelligence and cyber defense, as well as the modernization of the Navy and Air Force. Poland dramatically boosted its defense budget, actively acquiring modern tanks, fighter jets, air defense systems and other armaments. Finland and Sweden. Both countries joined NATO and increased defense spending in response to the threat from Russia. Finland has ordered new F-35 fighter jets. France. Significant increase in its defense budget, including investment in nuclear forces, cyber defense and space technologies. United States. The US remains the country with the largest defense budget in the world, but its spending has further increased since the war in Ukraine. For example, in 2023, the US defense budget amounted to approximately $858 billion, including investments in advanced weaponry, nuclear forces, space programs, and cybersecurity. South Korea continues to raise its defense spending due to threats from North Korea and its new best friend. The budget includes the purchase of state-of-the-art fighter jets, missile development programs, and modernization of military forces. Japan. A record increase in defense expenditures. Purchases include missile defense systems, long-range missiles, and other equipment. While Russia may not seem an immediate threat to Japan, the situation has created a dangerous precedent, and the Japanese are learning from the mistakes of others. Like Ukraine, Japan lacks nuclear weapons. Like Ukraine, Japan is not part of NATO. And just like Ukraine, Japan has problematic neighbors. One very powerful and dangerous, and another simply unhinged. Overall, the global military industry is experiencing a period of rapid growth and transformation influenced by the war in Ukraine and the growing threat from authoritarian states. Regional power balances have shifted, leading to the strengthening of old alliances and the creation of new military partnerships, or not.
So to conclude, Europe is ready to assume its responsibilities. Rearm Europe could mobilize close to 800 billion euros of defense expenditures for a safe and resilient Europe. We will, of course, continue working closely with our partners in NATO. This is a moment for Europe, and we are ready to step up.